got me feeling icy.
Oh, here we go, folks. Here we go. We are live. Live. Look, my name is Alex. I'm the founder of Hostage Tape. We are the largest mouth tape brand in the world. The largest mouth tape brand in the world, folks. Look, I was snoring like a chainsaw every night. And then one morning I looked over to where my wife was sleeping. And my wife wasn't there anymore. And so I thought to myself, where did my wife go? I know she probably went downstairs and she was going to make me breakfast in bed, right? No. My wife had moved into the other bedroom. My snoring was so bad that my wife resented me. She couldn't get sleep. My kids could hear me down the hall. That she moved in to the other bedroom. And this went on for years for me. We slept in bedrooms for years. And I can tell you that not good for a relationship. You might call it, I think many have called it a sleep divorce. It's not a good thing, folks. Not a good thing. Sleeping in separate bedrooms is not a good idea. You might laugh about it. You might think it's funny. And it sounds like a great idea. But it's not. We shouldn't be sleeping in separate beds. And so that went on for years. And I got to this low point in my life that I thought, okay, what do I need to do to solve this problem? And like most guys, I didn't want to go into the doctor. I didn't want to go in and see a sleep specialist or anything like that. I actually took it for granted. And just thought, didn't think I had a problem. But then when my wife moved into the other bedroom and then we slept in separate bedrooms for years, and I really had a low point in my life, and it just created this huge rift in our relationship. It's kind of like Indiana Jones running out of the Temple of Doom or the temple when you've got this big boulder chasing after you. It's almost this growing thing that you can't escape, and then it finally overtakes you. And that happened to me. And so when I finally realized and looked inward and said, what do I need to do? I started with my sleep. And aloha, Hawaii. Love it. Love it. I love Hawaii. We love going to Maui. Was fun. But we went to Kauai. Had so much fun on Kauai. That was over a year ago. So, love it. Okay, so back to the story here. So, when I started to look at like, what do I need to do? Because most of us men, we don't want to go to a doctor. We don't want to have somebody check us out. And then we take it for granted. But then we think like, okay, what can I do? How can I figure this out on my own? And so I went to Google and I started to type in like, how do I stop snoring? And it led me to Amazon, where then it's got all these different mouth guards and different sleeping devices and different things that you try and you think they might help. And I ordered one of those mouth guards. I got one of those mouth guards and put it into the boiling water that practically burned your mouth. And it didn't work for me because I felt like when I had that thing in, it kept my mouth open and I ended up drooling just all over my pillow. And my mouth breathed even worse when I would wake up after that thing. And I remember even trying to wear it a few more nights thinking like, okay, it might get better. And it didn't get better. And my jaw actually hurt quite a bit wearing that thing too, because it's supposed to also kind of push your jaw forward. But it just did this. Right, which isn't good, especially if you've been a mouth breather most of your life and you've trained your body to breathe through your mouth. Unless you're covering it, you're going to breathe through your mouth. And so, discouraged, I then went back to Google, and this time I went past the first page. Because you know how sometimes you're trying to find something in Google and you look on the first page and it's a bunch of ads. Sometimes you don't know what's an ad, what's not an ad. But then you go to the second page and then the third page, and then you go to the fourth page and the fifth page. You dig deep past all of the sponsored stuff to find some nugget of truth that stands out. That might be your answer. And I got to like the fifth or sixth or seventh page of Google and I found it. I found that one nugget that I needed, that one article that completely changed my life. And it was an excerpt from a best-selling book called Breath by James Nestor. And in this excerpt, James goes on to explain this experiment that they did. They wanted to test what would happen if you plug your nose for 10 days and see what happened when you're only breathing through your mouth. So they go to Stanford Medical Center, one of the most trusted universities in the world, one of the most prestigious in the world. So they go there with Stanford medical doctors. They plug their nose for 10 days. Over those 10 days, they snored like crazy. They had sleep apnea. And their oxygen level in their blood plummeted through the floor. And they felt horrible. Felt like they wanted to die. And then after those 10 days, they unplugged their nose. And to force themselves to breathe through their nose, they mouth taped at night when they slept. And after one day, what do you think happened? Everything went away. All the symptoms went away. The snoring went away. Sleep apnea was gone. And the oxygen in their blood went back up to normal levels where it should be. And they felt great. So when I read that, I thought to myself, wow, like mouth breathing. I'd never thought of that before. And I was an athlete my whole life, and you would think that my coaches would have taught me something about that they would have. Love it. Love to hear it. Thank you, John. John says our tape is the best. Love it. Appreciate your business, man. And I would have figured that I would have had coaches tell me to keep my mouth shut. And I never did. In fact, it was really only until I got into doing yoga that the yoga instructor would tell us to keep your mouth shut. And I thought it was crazy. I thought, why would I keep my mouth shut? What is that going to do? And I think that's what most people think. Most people hear this concept of mouth breathing and they think, well, what does it matter? Because it logically doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive to think that mouth breathing is any different than nose breathing. And so I immediately I went to Amazon and didn't know what to get at the time, because this was probably 5 years ago at the time. And so I go on there and I'm just looking for like 3M tape, micropore tape, surgical tape, like just regular old tape, right? And I just ordered something that I thought might work and waited for that to come. It arrives. I then get ready for bed that night, and I'm very eager to try this. And it was just a roll of tape. So I get in bed, and having never put tape on my mouth before, was very anxious. The first thought in my mind was, well, what happens if my nose gets stuffy? Am I going to die? Like, is that a possibility here? But then I realized, like, okay, there's just no way. There's tons of people out there mouth taping. They talked about it in the book. Our nose was meant for breathing. I'll be fine. I just got to get over it. So I experimented then with a few different types of pieces of tape on my mouth because I didn't know at the time how I should put it on. In fact, James Nestor in the book, he talks about putting a strip. So I experimented with ripping off a little strip and putting that on. And I immediately knew that that wasn't going to work because when I put that on, it was really easy for me to pop it loose. And having just a big, strong jaw like I've got, I knew that I needed to put a full strip across to make sure my mouth was shut. Because when you're sleeping, you're unconscious, you got to make sure it was shut. So then I ripped off a larger piece, I put it on my mouth, and you immediately kind of feel anxious, like, whoa, this is strange. And because look, when you cover your mouth, it's a bit of it almost elicits a fight or flight response that you immediately want to rip it away. It's not normal to have our mouths covered like that. So it's definitely awkward at first. But then the more I got used to it, I pulled it off and then I put another piece on. I'm like, all right, well, this is it. Now's as good a time as any. So I shut the light off and I had the full strip across my mouth. And keep in mind, it was also really uncomfortable. Like that's part of the reason why we created hostage tape was regular paper tapes weren't comfortable at all. They don't feel comfortable when you use it. They don't really work very well with facial hair. I didn't have a ton of facial hair at the time, kind of like now. But I put that on and I lay down, pull the covers up, and I can remember looking straight up at the ceiling, just kind of thinking like, okay, here goes. Here goes, baby. And I fell asleep. And then when I woke up the next day, I couldn't believe how I felt. I was feeling nicey.
Got me feeling nicey.
Mouth tape had me feeling nicey, folks. I tell you, because I was ready to shred it the next day. Had to throw that one in there. Love you, John. Okay. So when I woke up, though, I felt like my teenage son, like the amount of energy that I had. And it was immediately obvious to me that at that point, having been a mouth breather my whole life, my life was now changed. Just from mouth taping. The amount of energy I felt was life-changing. And it was such an easy, small, simple thing. And so then at that point, I knew there's an opportunity here to build a business where I can help other men. I can inspire other men like me to do this crazy thing called mouth taping. And I wanted to build a brand out of it. Because I knew that, look, it's not inspiring to tell everybody, go buy 3M micropore tape. Nobody's inspired by that story and are running into the Walgreens, the pharmacy to go buy it. And so I wanted to build a brand much like Liquid Death had done with the biggest commodity on the planet, water. It's like, how can I take this amazing concept, take the product, make it better, make it work better? And so that was a key there, right? Was how do I take tape and actually make it more comfortable, make it stronger, but not too strong, make it work really well with facial hair, and create a brand that men loved. And soon we'd find out that women loved it too, that they would buy into this company. It was a life-changing company for them and their families. And Hostage Tape was born. This was born from that life-changing experience that I had. And so I'll explain Hostage Tape, the name, because people hear it and they see it and they think, wow, that's pretty ballsy, dude. Like, it's pretty crazy to call a company Hostage Tape in this day and age. It is. But it's also pretty ballsy to name water liquid death. But guess what? They did a phenomenal job of creating this brand that you love, you feel cool, and it's water. And it's great water. And so that's what we did. We wanted to create a brand that got your attention, but it also taps into this emotion people feel. People feel held hostage by poor sleep or their partner, and they don't know what to do. So don't let bad sleep hold you hostage anymore. That became the company. And that was what we knew would start a conversation with people. People would see it across their feed and go, whoa, what is this? And then they would dig in and they would start to learn more because, look, there's 128 million households in the U.S. Over 71% of them are mouth breathing when they sleep. And we shouldn't be. And so think about how that's negatively impacting you right now, how that's hurting your health, how that's hurting your wealth, and how that's hurting your relationships. It hurts every aspect of your life. And we sleep a third of our lives. And sleep is such a crucial part of everything that we do, everything that we are, in our performance and the recovery that we have on a daily basis. And it's amazing that such a small thing like mouth taping can make such a big difference in your lives. And so let me demonstrate the product now. So we've got this is our hero product, our mouth tape. This is a 30-day pack. We've got our women's version for the ladies, our pink version. And we've got our bedside tin. This is our storage tin. I love this because you can put your tape in. You can keep it right by your bedside. You can put it in your bathroom kit. Take it with you when you travel. I always keep one of these in my pocket whenever I'm out on a business trip, I'm on a podcast, or I'm somewhere for a hostage tape, because then I can pull this bad boy out and I can demonstrate the product to people. So this is a strip of hostage tape right here. There's a perforated edge here, or line. All we're going to do is pull it, pop it. Now, before you put on your tape, you got to make sure clean mouth, dry, there's no grease, there's no makeup, there's no extra moisturizer, things like that are going to affect the adhesive. Peel it off. And when you put it on, watch what I do with my hands. I'm going to put it on and I'm going to rub it in to make sure that the glue sets in. I'm going to curl my lips inward. See that? That's a mistake that a lot of people make sometimes, is they'll put it on and they don't rub it in. So put it on, rub it in, and you'll notice this is the magic behind hostage tape. Look at this. It's a flexible fabric tape. You can see through it. You can breathe through it. It's comfortable. That means it's comfortable. It's safe. So if you have any thoughts about this not being safe, like it's going to duct tape your mouth completely shut and you're not going to be able to breathe at all, that's breathable. You can 100% breathe through this if you absolutely had to. Plus, you can easily take it off. And it's comfortable, and it's going to work really well with facial hair and bumps and irregularities that you might have on your face. That's why this works so much better than paper tape, surgical tape, just the cheap stuff out there. Okay? That stuff doesn't work really well. And it's not comfortable at all, because when you wear this every night at your most intimate, peaceful, sacred time of sleeping, this feels comfortable. And when people start to do this and they get used to it, it's almost comforting. It's like swaddling up in a blanket as a baby. You put this on and it makes you feel comfortable and like you're ready to go. And how are you going to sleep without your mouth tape on? That's how I feel when I wear this. My body is primed and ready to go. Now, the women's, the pink. Let's try this one. Again, we pull it, pop it, and this is made of a bamboo silk, flexible fabric. See that? And ladies, again, when you put this on, make sure you don't have a bunch of makeup on, a bunch of moisturizer on. It's going to affect the adhesive. Curl our lips inwards. Mm-hmm. And there we go. Super comfortable, super effective, and super easy. And it looks badass, doesn't it? Have a black piece of tape on, right? Or a pink, if you're a lovely lady. Now, the other thing that you're seeing on my nose here, this is not just a piece of tape, folks. It is our hostage nasal strip. Some people think, well, why do you have a piece of tape on your nose? What's that going to do? Well, it's not just a piece of tape. This actually has plastic ribs in it. You'll see it's got a flex to it, so that when you put this on, it opens up and widens your nasal passageways. So you actually feel like you're breathing like a new person in seconds. One of the biggest questions that we always got. Yeah, you can totally wear hostage tape for when you're doing your jiu-jitsu. Totally. Absolutely. We got a lot of jiu-jitsu guys who wear it for sure. So we get a lot of people who, you know, when they get introduced to hostage tape, they might think, well, what about my nose? I've got a deviated septum. And maybe I don't breathe so well out of my nose. So if you've never done nose strips before, take your fingers, put them in your nostrils like this and pull them out. That's what putting a hostage nasal strip on feels like. Okay? But that's going to open that up and give you more air if you're having any kind of trouble. I love wearing a nose strip when I go to the gym and I do a workout. So I always go to the gym. I get up every morning like 5:30. I have this morning routine. If you haven't watched, I've got a great video on our Instagram of this morning routine that I do. I get up, I take a bunch of vitamins and supplements, and then I do red light therapy. I do a stretching routine. I take my son to school, and then I go to the gym. I do a sauna. I do a cold plunge, and then I'm either doing the weights in the gym or I do a run. And that whole time, I've got a nose strip on. And I don't know how I would do a workout without a nose strip on anymore. I just don't. It makes such a big difference for me. So I don't always wear it when I sleep. I always wear mouth tape when I sleep, but I don't always wear this when I sleep because I don't necessarily need to. I breathe well enough out of my nose sedentary when I'm sleeping that it's not absolutely necessary for me, but for some people it is, and they'll wear both the nose strip and the mouth tape at night when they sleep. Now, we're out of stock of these, but we've got our hostage nasal sticks. Now, these things, they're an all-natural nasal inhaler. They've got menthol, some spearmint, some mints, a bunch of different mints in here. These suckers are going to open that nasal passage right up. A lot of people will use these right before they go to bed. Opens up the nose, and they'll keep this with them throughout the day. Very addicting, but we're completely out of stock of these, and we're working on getting more of them in here in the next year. Okay. Now, another new product that we have is our hostage hold wipes. So, one of the questions that we get quite often is, well, you're putting tape on skin. And for some people, maybe they've got greasy skin, maybe they've got dry skin, maybe they live in a humid place or a dry place. And sometimes tape sticks differently for certain people. So these are individual wipes that do two things. They help clean the skin, like off your nose, before you put a nose strip on. And they add a small layer to it that helps the adhesive stick to your nose. And when you take it off, it helps it so it doesn't hurt as much, because these nose strips are pretty tough. They're very strong. We designed the nose strips to be harder, stronger than anything else out there, and to look badass. Okay? You don't want to look like you've got a Band-Aid on your nose. You want to look cool. And that's what we did. Okay? Now, we are the number one mouth tape in the world, folks. Here's, I love showing this thing. This was, so over a year ago, when you hit certain levels on Shopify, they send you an award. And this was over a year ago. We hit our 100,000 order threshold. But since then, we've done, 3-4 times that. And we're the number one mouth tape in the world, folks. The number one mouth tape in the world. Number one mouth tape on Walmart. We're the number one mouth tape on Amazon. Now, keep in mind that Amazon actually has a ban on mouth tape. And so we're not currently on there right now, but we'll be back on there here within a few weeks. But anything you see on there is just copycat. It's not the real thing. It's not us. Okay? So if you want us, you can come to the website, come to hostagetape.com, and you can get our real hostage tape. Okay? Now, we've got a ton of big time people that you know and trust that use hostage tape. Guys like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's been a big user of hostage tape for a while now. We've been a sponsor of Joe's Pod as well. Erling Haaland is one of the best soccer players in the world. He's a hostage tape user. Got Mark Consuelos from Live with Kelly and Mark. He's a big hostage taper. We've got Andy Elliott, the best sales trainer on the planet. We've got, if you watched Monday Night Football last night, Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman, the Hall of Fame quarterback and Monday Night Football commentator. He is a huge hostage taper. We've got Chris Bumstead, arguably one of the greatest bodybuilders on the planet in history. Big old hostage taper. We've got Gary Brecka, big hostage taper. Mark Bell. We've got a ton of comedians like Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Pete Holmes, Sebastian Maniscalco. I love Sebastian. He's on this nationwide tour right now. I always dream that someday a comedian would have a bit about hostage tape, and he does. He does a bit in a show about mouth tape and hostage tape. So can't wait until he comes here to Minnesota and I get to see him in person, get to meet him. It's going to be great. Somebody asked, why did Amazon ban mouth tape? That's a good question. They don't really have a good reason. They claim safety reasons, but there is an Amazon ban on mouth tape. The problem is they just they're not enforcing it. Amazon isn't enforcing the ban, so you can find mouth tapes on there, but they're not enforcing it. They're only enforcing it on companies like us because we're the biggest brand in the world. And so it's a bit frustrating. So if you want to help support us and small businesses as we grow and we help more people, just come to the website, come to hostagetape.com. You can buy it there. We were also mentioned on Love is Blind, the biggest reality show on Netflix on the internet. We've also got a ton of NFL teams. We've got about half the NFL right now. So half the NFL is we've sent hostage tape to, and they've got it. Anytime we find players who are using the product, we reach out and then we send a care package for the whole locker room. And so last night, for the Monday night game, the Vikings and the Bears, there were some Vikings wearing our nose strips during the game, but the Vikings were a Minnesota company too, ironically. But the Vikings, they've got hostage tape. The Bears don't, which is probably why they got their ass kicked, because they're not on hostage tape. That's it. But we got about half the NFL right now, and so it's cool to see the amount of players, the amount of NFL teams who have started to embrace hostage tape and how it can help their performance and their recovery. Because at that level, it matters, right? When you're at that high of a level of playing, the biggest the difference could be just a small percentage, right? Because those guys are so good. So the smallest things that they can do to give themselves an edge matter. And something as simple as mouth taping at night, wearing a nose strip, can actually translate into a huge difference for those guys. Even if it's 1% better, makes a difference at that level. Because when you're at that level, everybody's great. And what separates greatness at that level? It might be just a couple things. A couple little things that then snowball and stack into bigger things over time. And so really proud of all of our NFL players representing hostage tape every night. All right, somebody asked, when you first started out, how did you go about connecting with people and teams to get in the hands of those? So I did a lot of product seeding. I sent a lot of product out to people. And, when you're getting started, sometimes that's what you got to do. You just got to be relentless in sending the product out and getting it to people and getting it into their hands so they can try it. And that's some of the best marketing you can do, is spending money and time on getting the product into people's hands versus sometimes just spending money on ads. Somebody asked, I see today there's a few brands on there. Yeah, there's again, mouth tape is banned on Amazon. You can look now and see there's some copycats on Amazon. They're not supposed to be there. Amazon is supposed to have kicked them off because there's a ban. So, like I said, I'd highly recommend you support a real brand, a real American company right here. I mean, half those copycats, I don't even think are like real people representing them. They're probably just some company in China trying to sell it. So you want to support a real company with real people, with a real story, trying to help support hostage tape. Go to the website, buy it there. Until Amazon, shapes up and actually lets us sell the product on there. That would be great. So somebody asked, does Andy Elliott on hostage tape? Oh, Andy's a huge supporter of hostage tape. Absolutely. I mean, he's always posting about us. Gotta love Andy and Jackie. Absolutely. Yep. So cool. Awesome, folks. Well, we're going to call this one quits today. Nice little short session. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Alex, the founder of Hostage Tape. We are the largest mouth tape brand in the world, folks. Yeah, definitely make sure you order some. Go to the website. We're a little backed up right now on shipping. We had a huge Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So We've got more stock is on the way, folks. But definitely go get we've got a 50% off holiday sale. So absolutely get that. Try that. It's an amazing, amazing offer. But appreciate it, folks. Remember, don't let bad sleep hold you hostage anymore. All right?